Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's first panel discussion. Look forward to hear you in conversation, sharing diverse perspective on topic PPA auction, hedging instrument in market, remaining heating M&A activities in Europe and Spain. And please welcome to stage our first moderator in this morning. Big applause for Inés Monroy, International Business Development and Brand Manager from STEAG Solar Energy Solution.
Sin más. Oh, vale. Okay, so thank you, Esther. Very pleased to be here. Good morning, everyone. And especially very pleased to moderate this panel on self-consumption, because outstandingly enough is opening the conferences, in fact. And I don't think this is a coincidence. I think it responds to the relevance that this subsector is gaining in the overall PV industry. And actually the figures are supporting this. And last year we achieved a rocket figure of 1.25 gigawatt of installed capacity, from which 41% comes from commercial and industrial applications. This figure would have been even larger if there were projects that were not on hold, waiting for the subsidies that come from the next generation funds, and also enlarged if there were authorizations delivered for the evacuation to the grid. As we all know, it is one of the obstacles, especially for large projects that have a surplus. Also outstanding for me to mention is that in Spain, in difference or in contrast with other European countries, we have a share of 13% of self-consumption in the overall installed capacity, PV installed capacity, which reaches 18.3 gigas up to Q 2022. And if we consider other countries in Europe, such as Germany, that has 66% of self-consumption installed capacity, I think there is a big potential there, and that we are really moving forward. One of the things we will discuss today with the speakers that are part of this panel is what can we do to enlarge this share, and how can we take advantage of this energy crisis to really make a positive impact in the deployment of PV and self-consumption, also to make some of our industries survive. So I'm very pleased actually to introduce the speakers in this panel, because they are pretty relevant. And not only because of their personal experience, but also because they represent companies that are outstanding in their experience and in their innovative solutions. So in the first place, I actually will follow the order here. So it is actually Enrique, and I'll put my glasses on because there's all this information. Okay, so we have Enrique, who is actually representing 3 companies. If you can come here, Enrique, and join me, I'll feel warmer here, because it's cold here, actually. Okay, so Enrique actually represents 3 companies, and namely Umbrella, actually, Solar Investment, which captures the full business potential in the PV value chain, developing C&I self-consumption projects that are sourced by another company, which is EM2, which is the one that appears in the logo. And through the company Turbo Energy, they are taking advantage of equipment that in the beginning was for residential applications by generating, storing, and doing the energy management of self-consumption projects. So thank you for being here. Then we have Luis Navarro. Could you join us here? Which I'm very fond of and I follow because its company CUBIERTA Solar for me is a very good example of a small medium-sized company fully owned by a Spanish and comes from a family business, right? And has reached actually the installed capacity equivalent to 50 megas. So congratulations there. And actually mainly focuses in industries of different sectors, including textiles, automotive, footwear, plastic, cosmetics, food processing, logistics, and construction materials. And I'm mentioning all these because clearly those industries are showing a high potential considering the installed capacity. I would outstand as well the commitment to innovation by supplying customized solutions that include high capacity industrial batteries. So welcome here too. Then we have Miguel Ángel from Triodos, also an interesting player here. As we all know, Triodos is an ethical bank funded in 1980. Present in 5 European countries and promoting positive social, cultural, and environmental change. And therefore, they strongly believe in self-consumption as the most suitable way to produce renewable energies and offer, in fact, 3 products for this segment, which are personal loans, project finance, which he will explain later on, because it's a very innovative way of approaching the market, and asset securitization funds. So thank you, Miguel Ángel. Then we have Lorenzo, who used to represent Soto Solar, which is also an important player in the market, but recently they have changed or enlarged their scope and adopted a new commercial name for their C&I business, which actually includes the provision of energy services, not only to reduce electricity costs, but to reach the target of reduction of CO2 emissions, meeting all the energy-related and sustainability targets of their customers. And lastly, but not least, we have Juan Suanzes from Seraphin Solar, which is a module manufacturer, and I would outstand that belongs to tier 1 manufacturers, and it's in the top 12. So if some of you did not know this company, I think it's interesting for this reason for Juan to have joined us. They have an installed capacity of production capacity of 8 gigas, and are currently enlarging their capacity up to 5 gigas with TOPCon cells and another 5 gigas of TOPCon modules. The technology they offer nowadays includes monofacial, bifacial with dual glass, and 3 types of cells, which are 166, 182, and 210 millimeters. So welcome you all. Thank you for being here. As let's say background, I would focus in this current scenario of energy crisis and the enlarged plans of the European Union that are clearly supporting the deployment of self-consumption. And I think we have experienced an increase in the demand of this type of solutions, but also in the scale, reaching figures that are even larger than utility scale projects. So this is clearly to mitigate the ever-growing energy prices. So in this respect, I would like actually Lorenzo to give me his impressions about the changes that they are experiencing in the demand of their customers, and then if there are new services that you might consider of interest to provide.
Thank you, Inés, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, very interesting question, and yeah, good to reflect on the status of the market right now. Of course, we see rising demand on the interest of C&I customers for solar self-consumption, and this is because of the extreme power prices right now, but also because at both national and European level, there's a strong support policy-wise. So we do see the drives there. However, we're still experiencing a pretty long sales cycle. So at least our experience is that from initial contact to PPA closure, because we, as EKI, we develop and invest in the projects and arrange PPAs with the customers. We see a sales cycle of between 1 and 2 years, which is pretty long. So besides this strong interest from the consumers, we see this long cycle, and yeah, the main reason I believe is that the consumer is focused on its core business, which is the operation of the factory. And besides cost savings being an important topic, it still has a lot of other priorities. So from EKI, what are the measures we are implementing to accelerate and speed up the market? Well, I believe there's an important phase of educating the client on the business case, what the risks are, what the opportunities. And also in terms of the PPA negotiation, which is a rather complex and multidisciplinary negotiation. Yeah, you need to bring all stakeholders within the company, energy manager, procurement, lawyer, accountant, to really look together the contract and help them understand all the risks. So yeah, I think this education consulting exercise is important to speed up the process, but also think on ways to deliver more cost savings impact. Because in the end, with a solar self-consumption project, we cover 25%, 30% of the demand, but the big part of the pie is grid supply. So I think we need to look together in the industry on ways to achieve more coverage, and this is, I think, CUBIERTA Solar will explain today. Probably I am as well. Combining solar with batteries and reaching like 40%, 50% demand. That's a way, I think, to accelerate the business. And then from our side, we also look into standardizing, digitalizing all the process to make it as smoother as possible. Besides that, I think, yeah, the drives are strong, and yeah, we think we are still early stage in the market, and the consumer will get used to the business case, to the PPA, and I think it will speed up as well naturally. I think that's the way we see it from our side.
Thank you. Enrique, would you like to add something, considering he mentioned you?
Yeah, thank you, Inés and Lorenzo. I fully agree with you, Lorenzo, on the sales cycle. It is very long. I must say that I also agree with you, and customers, they are focused normally on his core business, the production. And sometimes it's very difficult for them to compare different options that are knocking on the door. There are a lot of companies offering products, whether with or without PPA, and sometimes they, in our experience, they get a little bit confused. So there's no clear market standard. There's no a clear path to follow. When you want to discuss a PPA, is as you said, a multilateral contract is not easy. So as long as we can improve all this sales cycle and to have a more easy way for clients, it will be better for all the industry. This is one side, but on the other side, you also mentioned the technical side, and of course, clients, once in our experience, once they get into solar, they are very happy during the summertime, and they are very angry during the winter time. So they want more and more and more. They say, no, this is fantastic, but they on a normal way of thinking, they say, okay, why do we don't can use the grid easily? Why do we don't have an easy access to the grid? This is one big question. Why don't? So this is something that has to be solved. quickly because it doesn't make any sense, right? And clients don't understand. A grid is the grid, so for me it's I can access to the grid when I want to take energy, but I cannot touch the grid if I can use it as a export way of the energy. So this doesn't make any sense. And of course, batteries but we also like to say we don't see batteries as a storage system and that's it. We see the battery and the management system of the battery, which is something that is not very common on the discussions, but the management, the software, artificial intelligence, whatever we can deploy behind the battery is the key question. This is what really will trigger the self-consumption business, because you in that case you can increase that 20-30% average coverage of the solar. You can increase up to whatever, depending on the cases, but hopefully up to 60-70% in some of the cases. Then for us, technology is there. So batteries are there. Prices are, let's say, affordable. In some of the cases, business case makes sense. On the figures run smoothly. So the difficulties is again to educate the client that this is not that you purchase a battery. It's a plug-and-play system. You put it and it performs perfectly from the first day. So this is for us on the technology side, and we are working on it, of course. What will we be triggering the self-consumption market? On one side, access to the grid, and the other side that all the companies working in this field, we are capable or able to deploy batteries and management systems on a, let's say, a regular way of doing business. Because right now, except some cases with CUBIERTA Solar you mentioned, some of the companies say, no, batteries are expensive, forget about that. I mean, let's work on the figures, because I mean, if you install batteries, it's difficult because technology is not as easy as installing solar panels, but it's not rocket science. So you can do this. I mean, it's not so tricky. So technology is there, and I think if we use the technology properly, we can also give some additional value to our clients.
Thank you, Enrique. Given this educational background that is needed in the commercial industrial clients which are not specialized in PV and maybe not even in the energy they consume, I think it is very relevant the role of the on-site PPAs, because then the owner of the asset is a specialized actor and just delivers a fixed price that has visibility for a long period of time, and with the advantage of then shifting the ownership to the end customer. So in this respect, Miguel Ángel, how do you see the exponential growth that I reckon there is in the number of actors offering PPAs for these type of installations? And how is your company contributing in this respect to support this ownership of assets?
Thank you, Inés. Yeah, and good morning to everyone. As Lorenzo and Enrique explained very well, we are seeing a booming in the market. So clearly, self-consumption is moving by one of the main drivers is the cost of the energy. Secondly, the environmental issues, and I fully agree that renewable energy is the best way to face the energy, climate, and humanitarian crisis that we are facing today. So, and in this sense, self-consumption probably is the most sustainable way to produce renewable. So. It's clear the market is there. There are a lot of consumer industrial customers that are really interested today in self-consumption solutions. And one of the problems, as both of you said, is that probably there is not it's not in the core business of these companies, and currently there is it's not a very standardized product, especially the PPA agreement is quite complex. So what we are doing in Triodos to promote self-consumption, basically we offer three products. One is the personal loans for consumers. The term of these personal loans allows to the consumers to repay the loan just with the savings of the self-consumption installation. Second product that is quite innovative also is project finance. We were the first finance entity in Spain that we offer project finance for portfolios for self-consumption. It's quite interesting for investors because if you have a diversified portfolio with different PPA agreement with different off-takers, allows to structure finance as project finance, and that means that as project finance in big plants, there has a lot of advantages. One, there is no resource to the financial resource to the parent company. There is no debt inside the balance of the parent company. With very nice leverage, the ratios that we are seeing in other projects that we have financed and we are analyzing is leverage around 70 to 80%. That helps definitely to increase the profit of the investors. And another important advantage with this portfolio is that we are not demanding as lenders an investment grade profile of takers. So the key element is a diversified portfolio and size and number of takers in different sectors and with different sizes in diversification in terms of geography, etc. That gives enough comfort to offer project finance. And a last product that we offer that is also very innovative is to finance asset securitization fund. It's a more complex product. It's for more specialized investors, but it allows to us to finance indirectly private persons and privates and even small companies with very nice structure. We can get even better financial conditions than the project finance. So very happy from Triodos Bank to promote self-consumption in order to help in this crisis, kind of economic and humanitarian crisis, energy crisis.
Thank you, Miguel Ángel. Going back to the technological, innovations that Enrique was mentioning, I would like to have Luis telling us his point of view about how it is contributing to the growth and in the opening of new possibilities, namely to gain efficiency, savings, but also a greater autonomy from the grid.
Yeah, thank you, Inés. Thank you, everyone. From our experience, from the last 4 years, we have seen the evolution of the PV self-consumption industrial market here in Spain. Because if you remember, just 1 year ago, the pool market, the price of energy in Spain was just 50 euros megawatt hour, and now we are over 300. So this changed dramatically the market, because at the beginning, the very first industrial projects were focused on sustainability, because the return, the yield was about 7 years, and today is less than 1 year. So the very first industrial customers in Spain, they did the investment, and they are now mature. They know the technology, they know how it works, and how the savings, and how they save more than expected. So they are focusing now to increase this PV plant to produce in excess and to storage this excess of energy on the battery or on the storage battery. Because access to the network here in Spain is so difficult, so we have a limit of 100 kilowatts for simplified consumption, or simplification compensation. And we are working to eliminate this limit because they don't have any technical sense. And until we arrive to this, storage is one of the options, because the price have been reduced, and also the price of energy, they lose every weekend, because normally industries, they don't work on weekends, they don't work on holidays, and this can be up to the 30% of the production of the year. So it's a huge amount of energy they are losing every year. So we started to sell the very large scale, utility scale, but adapted to the self-consumption market, industrial market last year. Also, we had some subsidized with the next generation subsidized, and they arrived last year and they are giving this year. The investment is quite high, but the return at the moment is less than 2 years. So with these figures on beginners of the self-consumption are focusing in increasing the PV plant. Sometimes it's not possible because the roof is fully booked, but you have to be creative and you can rent, for example, from the logistic warehouse near to you another roof, or also you can do a plant on the land close to the industrial facilities of the states. And you have to be creative if you need to arrive and focus and have energy costs with the PV plant and also storage. With this combination, at the moment we have 2 successful projects. They are working more than 1 year, from 8 in the morning to 8 p.m., just only with batteries and solar PV. So you don't have to worry about it's cloudy or it's raining or it's winter or it's summer. So you can linearize the production of the PV plant in the full year, and you are avoiding the most expensive. Well, now all the times are expensive, but especially during the day, the P1. And also you are achieving close to zero CO2, zero net emissions, because most of the consumption for like commercial or hotels and some industries are during the day, and sustainability is more important every day for companies, and they can market this. It's important.
Interesting. And this actually links with my question to Juan, who has been very patient. And I wanted to know what is a module manufacturer contributing with in these technological innovations that can actually enrich all this sustainability approach and also offer more efficient solutions, which in the end lead to equipment that can last more in time, which is the most efficient approach that can be given, I think. So what is Seraphin doing, and how do you see it?
First of all, good morning to everyone, and thanks to Inés, and of course to the organizer. I would like to say before I start that in my time nobody studied English, and I am more comfortable talking in Spain. For that reason, in Spanish, I am
Juan,
going to change to Spain.
Feel free, and I will try to summarize, because there's people in the audience that might need English.
Yo creo que al final estamos trabajando en una transición a la energía verde. Hay un tema que es importantísimo. Vamos a poner muchísimos millones de módulos en los próximos años, y es clarísimo que la sostenibilidad es un punto tremendamente importante. ¿Qué estamos viendo los fabricantes? Bueno, los marcos regulatorios de todos los países están poniendo cada vez más regulación. Nos estamos encontrando que tanto inversores como consejos de administración exigen que se cumplan todas esas normativas. Hay una presión en cuanto a la sostenibilidad. Los propios clientes, sean de autoconsumo, comercial, industrial o grandes consumidores, exigen cada vez más que cumplamos con esa sostenibilidad. Los bancos, por supuesto, quieren que cuanto más sostenible sea el producto, lógicamente mejor van a ir las cosas. Y luego hay organizaciones que presionan al mercado, no voy a nombrar ninguna, pero bueno, es una presión que tenemos todos los fabricantes de módulos. ¿Qué estamos haciendo en Seraphim? Bueno, pues en Seraphim lo que estamos haciendo, esto es un reto que tiene el mundo, cambio climático, sostenibilidad. En Seraphim, ¿qué estamos haciendo? Pues estamos revisando primero toda la cadena de suministro en cuanto a materiales de fabricación de módulos. Hemos establecido códigos de conducta con proveedores, hemos incorporado cláusulas sociales y medioambientales en los contratos y estamos evaluando a los proveedores con esas cláusulas. ¿Cómo mejoramos la eficiencia energética usada en nuestra producción? Estamos trabajando en ello. En los últimos años, todos los fabricantes estamos haciendo módulos con mayor potencia, estamos trabajando en mejor en la eficiencia de nuestras producciones, pero también estamos trabajando en toda la línea energética. Tenemos que revisar todos los procesos, hemos automatizado todas las líneas de producción y, por supuesto, estamos innovando, innovando con productos y con módulos que al final afecten más a la sostenibilidad global. Marcos más estrechos, menos consumo de aluminio, módulos más ligeros, dual glass, que dan más garantías. Bueno, todas esas medidas en Seraphim nos ha supuesto, del 20 al 21 hemos reducido nuestras emisiones de carbono en un 30%, luchando por esa sostenibilidad que yo creo que cada vez exige más el mercado.
Thank you, Juan. I will try to summarize. I would actually outline the innovation as important ingredient holding hands with sustainability, so continuous innovation that Seraphin is carrying out in the production of modules, in the raw materials used for these modules, and also in the sourcing of energy for that production, namely some measures being taken in reducing the frame and making the cells thinner, also eliminating toxic components. You were basically supporting the idea that more and more there is sensitivity in the management and board of directors of the end consumers about the ESG policies that are up to now recommendations, but more and more part of the concern of the regulator on a European level. And I think basically you are making all your suppliers follow closely certain criteria in social and environmental aspects. Okay, let's go back to my to my next question, actually, which I hope I find here. Okay, so actually, you have mentioned already, Miguel Ángel, about this rating insolvency that is not required necessarily in the portfolios that you are looking after for the project finance scheme. But I would like to know how do you feel about the inclusion of new technologies, which are actually not new, because batteries have been there for ages in isolated systems, but definitely there have been innovations there, and there is not a track that we can really look at, no, in terms of efficiency and generation, capacity, accumulation capacity. So how do you feel about these new technologies in this type of projects?
It's a good question. So I think in general in Triodos we are very open to new technologies. In fact, part of our team, we are engineers and we love the new technology. But it's true that we have always to check three layers. One, of course, the technology, if it's a proven technology or not. In the case of the batteries, I'm not an expert, but there is some expertise in Triodos in other countries that has financing batteries in the grid. But basically, as you say, batteries is in general proven technology, but are different kind of batteries. So we have to check the useful life of the battery and the potential degradation of the batteries with the years. Second layer, important layers, is the economic layer. So if we have to check if, of course, the additional investment of the batteries are compensated by the incomes that you could, or the savings that you can get with this investment. And in this sense, of course, apart from the capex, you have to consider what are the potential savings, and there is a clear dependency on what are the expected power price in the future. And there is, of course, some discussion on what could be the solar capture price if you don't consume self-consumption and you have to take the energy from the grid. It's clear that in the short term the prices are very high, but maybe in 10 years' time the situation could be very different for solar. And the last field that is quite important for us as in Triodos is the environmental field. There are different technologies in the storage, and it's an important issue that we have to analyze in detail. What is the technology of the battery, where it comes from the raw materials, what is the recycling, how we can recycle these batteries, and what are the alternatives if we don't use the battery. So in fact, as a summary, we are open to include in project finance. It's not an issue from the technology perspective, but there are different topics to analyze in detail.
Thank you. Okay, so because we're running out of time and I would like the audience to eventually pose questions, I would very briefly go over two topics. So one would be, if any of you, I would let specific speakers, but you're all welcome to contribute. So this would be, what are the obstacles that we're finding now that were not there and we have not discussed about, ideally, but maybe we can highlight ongoing problems, how to tackle them, and what is your impression about the recently abolished mandatory 500 meters from the generation up to the consumption location? And how do you feel about this capacity that is said to be reserved of 10% for self-consumption? How do you think that is really going to be feasible, if it's appropriate and meaningful? So you can take it from there, Lorenzo.
Okay, great, thanks Inés. By the way, I do agree with you, it's pretty cold up here. I do have a stream of cold air here, but yeah, we'll try to make it till the end of the panel. And based on your question, yeah, I think it's good to touch on the topic of grid connection for self-consumption, because I do believe that would be yeah, very, very strong drive for the market, because yeah, we do have lots of projects, and yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier, where the consumer drops consumption or drops demand in August or on the weekends, and then we reach self-consumption rates of 70–75%. And if there is no possibility to fit to the grid, those business cases are basically not feasible. Okay, so I think it would be very interesting that we would get some support from regulation, so that grid connection for self-consumption projects are prioritized. And I do think it makes sense for the industry as well, because producing where the consumption happens is much more efficient than transporting the electricity through the grid. So yeah, I think the with regards to the 500 meters provision, yeah, going beyond that would be very, very important, because, for example, we do work with logistic real estate funds, which have like very, yeah, lots of warehouses with very large surfaces, but they have very limited demand. The logistic tenants, you know, they don't have much consumption. However, they are located in industrial areas where there's lots of yeah, SMEs or industrial players. So if we could, yeah, develop collective self-consumption projects for these clients, and benefit from, I don't know, maybe 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers radius self-consumption, collective self-consumption, like it's common in France or in Portugal, I think that would be a strong push for the market. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the regulator has a very good intention with all these measures. Is trying to help, but again, we have a very wide experience. We are a 20-year experience company. Our view is that the regulator wants to do something, but then the implementation is very hard. Then we companies try to do certain operation, and paperwork becomes a nightmare. Especially when the regulator has said, let's do something, let's move this 500 meters distance to whatever the new distance is, if any. But then this has to go down to distributor, commercialization companies, and everyone at the grid system. And this usually becomes a bit difficult and becomes sometimes even a wall. So to me, it's not just the definition of the law. So how difficult or easy will become to do this on a daily issue. So I very often have the impression that the ideas are fine, because now we are facing good times, in the meaning that again, a wide experience gives you the complete view, and we come from some years that even the climate crisis was under discussion. So now there's no discussion, and as electricity prices are very high, there's also no discussion about the returns of the investment. But regulation still, with all that pressure, is going very, very slow, and it is a difficulty. And to me, there's another question that we must raise up, is that now clients, CNI clients, are demanding a lot PV because they are suffering a lot on the electricity bill. What will happen, and it's an open question, what will happen if electricity prices hopefully come back to normal levels or even expensive level, not so high levels, but maybe they see this as a technology to use when there's a crisis. So it may happen, it will be really a bad thing for all of us, that electricity prices go to a, let's say, high level, not extreme level, but high level, and they say, no, we are fine. Oh, with that electricity prices, we are not suffering so much, so let's forget about PV. Okay, and this is another question that we must discuss, because I honestly don't know if that peak on the demand of self-consumption comes as a consequence of the green environment policies of the companies and the savings. But my view is, or my feeling is that an important trigger is savings, and once that saving is reduced, that trigger is reduced, what will happen to the demand? Mm-hmm. I don't know really.
Yeah, and how could that be regulated is an interesting question. But actually, Luis was willing to reaffirm and reassure you in this correct policy, but insufficient implementation. Specifically, how do you think destinating funds to the capacity building of the administration would contribute in this, facilitating this implementation?
Well, this is a very difficult question, a more difficult answer in Spain, because we have a lot of legislative and a lot of administrative. They should improve like a digital register, like in the households, residential, because we have some, I don't know to say, silly limits with the 100 kilowatt limit. Another one, why can only compensate during 1 month? Why? So, for example, we have many problems with seasonal industries, like olives industry, the wine industry, the beach hotels industry, the fruit industry. They consume a lot for 3-4 months, but what happened with the other 8 months? They lose. So, should be more rational for everyone. Now we are in a energy emergency, so why we can compensate during the full year? Because we have 4 seasons. So many customers, they reduce the project to very little because they can achieve during the whole year, and we have many season industry here in Spain. What they only have to do is change this, and the government have the right and the power to do this. And this is very easy, and there are no technical problems to do this. It's just a political issue, we understand, and they can do next Tuesday.
I think we should actually include a new item in the conferences, which would be to sit down and make a list of potential
claims.
No, but yeah, claims or suggestions. Because I think the Miteco is actually pretty open to listen. Okay, so question answer part is not possible, but because we will be here the rest of the day, we are really happy to continue discussing about this. But I would like to wrap up and get hold of the idea that Lorenzo was putting forward about the reduction in the energy losses that comes from distributed generation, which I think is a very outstanding item, together with the social acceptance of this type of systems, because they make the most out of the available surface, and obviously the savings it brings along, the independency from the grid, with all its related complexities, such as congestion, payment of access fees, etc. And then the enhancement in the role of the consumer, who actually becomes a producer. So we have this new name you all know about, which is prosumer, which I really like because of the empowerment that comes along. And eventually, the fact that the system is so close to the consumption, it will end up increasing the consciousness about energy consumption, which is something that is a debate right now. It is not only about changing the source of energy, but about using it efficiently. And in this respect, innovations are already there. We don't have to wait for them. They're already available and being included in self-consumption projects. So we don't have to wait for large-scale storage. We can already implement innovations. So for all these reasons, self-consumption needs a lot of attention and support. And I do hope we achieve a larger share in the overall install capacity in the near future. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Inés, and congratulations, all of you, Enrique, Luis, Miguel Ángel, Lorenzo, and Juan, for such a great panel. And at this time, maybe we can take a break. Would you like? A quick break, tea break, actually. So he's already prepared in the next room, and we will see you in like 15 minutes, please. Thank you very much.